Well, they're trying to focus on Clinton to avoid Trump. It's very clear. And this dump today was intended to do that. And the Republicans on the House Oversight Committee have focused on Clinton as a way to distract attention. But none of the victims' reports to the FBI, which are in the files, were released today. So this was an extensive cover up that took place.
Sidney, I want to start by just considering what these files do show, and it is yet more confirmation, is it not, that Jeffrey Epstein was able to navigate his way around high society around the world, actually. And I just wonder how you reflect on that, his ability to mix with presidents and former presidents and pop stars and movie stars and royalty, indeed. It seems to be unmatched.
But Jeffrey Epstein was a gifted swindler who had an amazing social skill, and he networked his way and through high society and big business and high finance, and used all of his connections one way or another, and used the names of people he met, particularly with moneyed people, to get their money and to swindle it or to offshore it so they could escape taxes or lower their prenups. Um, and he stole a lot of money. And we haven't gotten to the bottom of the whole business, particularly of his finances. So that's one part of it. The other part is that he was a massive human trafficker. Um, I think the money was rather, for the most part, separate from the um, compulsive human trafficking that he was involved in. So those are two separate things.
And so, does that explain, or go some way to explaining, how he maintained such a hold over so many influential people? Because while some of those pictured, including Bill Clinton, there is no suggestion of any wrongdoing by these people. So I'm trying to work out what it was that he offered them. Why be close to Jeffrey Epstein?
Well, it depends on who they were and what they did. Um, the release today of perhaps 10% of the files was a combination of a bad teenage prank and a serious illegal act. It was both at the same time. Uh, there was a lot of old news, like pictures of Bill Clinton, who has done nothing wrong and without context. And it broke the deadline when all of the files were supposed to be released. In the matter of Bill Clinton, since you brought it up, um, the former president borrowed the plane of Jeffrey Epstein for the Clinton Foundation to go to Africa, principally to deliver AIDS drugs. The Clinton Foundation is responsible for the reduction of AIDS in Africa by about 20%. And that's about it. This week we saw.
Did the foundation have to pay Epstein to borrow the plane?
No, they didn't have. That was a contribution to the foundation. The the chief of staff to Donald Trump this week, Susie Wiles, said that Donald Trump had lied about President Clinton being on Jeffrey Epstein's island, although Trump himself had been there and had lied about Trump's wrongdoing. So we're coming to the end. This non-release, as it were, non-release release, which is a kind of cover-up and also illegal, breaking the law in not releasing all the files, was the culmination of a series of breakdowns of the Trump presidency all through the week. And it's a fracturing, a breakdown, and uh, all of this will keep going forward. this has not resolved the question at all, and is hardly a successful cover-up.
No, and of course there are more files to come. That's the thing. Can I ask, Sidney, just for the avoidance of doubt, did you ever meet Jeffrey Epstein?
No,
No. Do you count yourself fortunate that you didn't?
I have no means or conditions in which I would have met him.
No, sure, but what I'm saying is it's probably fortunate that you didn't, because all of these people who did, even if there are no accusations of wrongdoing and they've denied any wrongdoing, they are now caught up in this thing by being so close to him.
Uh, sure, but the real there are questions about the money and involving a lot of very wealthy people, and particularly Donald Trump. There were major stories broken in the New York Times over the last week involving both the finances and the sexual relationship between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein as predators hunting women. It was an incredibly long story in the Times, and seriously sourced. Trump and Epstein were described as the closest of friends, and the story verified much of what has been said about Epstein and Trump's very intimate relationship and how they traded women.
It's worth noting that these files don't really have much reference to President Trump, although there is a mention of him in a lawsuit filed by an anonymous accuser. And just in the interests of representing Donald Trump, who clearly is not here to represent himself, he said Trump and, one of his Republican colleagues and former personal lawyer said he and Epstein were friends, but the president has never been implicated in any wrongdoing. I think is the latest line on the Trump defense. So that is just worth mentioning as we go along here. One of the calls that we will hear on our program today, Sidney, is for on behalf of the victims, for those who were rich and powerful, some of whom still are, but who are notably connected to Jeffrey Epstein in this way. The call that we will hear will be for victims to hear from these people. Why are these people not saying more about what they knew, even if it was, in the grand scheme of things, inconsequential? That actually people like Bill Clinton have a role to play in piecing together the jigsaw puzzle of Epstein. Why don't these powerful men come forward and just explain what they knew rather than denying they knew anything wrong?
Yeah, I think Bill Clinton has come forward and said he didn't know anything. So that's the end of that matter.
Well,
The
hang on,
Republicans are trying to focus. I
I'm
can only
looking.
report to you what he
Sure,
said.
Sidney, but I will say that I'm looking at photos of him this morning in a hot tub with a redacted person, in a swimming pool with another redacted person and Ghislaine Maxwell, and seemingly at a dinner with Michael Jackson and Diana Ross, among others. So why doesn't Bill Clinton come forward and explain what happened there, what was discussed there?
Well, they're trying to focus on Clinton to avoid Trump. It's very clear. And this dump today was intended to do that. And the Republicans on the House Oversight Committee have focused on Clinton as a way to distract attention. He's issued a statement through his lawyer explaining what he knew. He's offered a written statement, and there's nothing more to learn about that. But none of the victims' reports to the FBI, which are in the files, were released today. So this was an extensive cover-up that took place. And it breaks the law because they were supposed to release the files, all of them, today.